The biggest thing that scares me, I feel very skeptical going to any doctor here or any veterinarian in Cambodia. To get married here in Cambodia is $10,000. You can't call a baby cute in Cambodia. Call the public ambulance. They usually won't have expats unless you speak Khmer maybe. I lost my laptop on a tuk-tuk one time and I had to call the tuk-tuk driver and try and get it back, and he was a very honest guy and he gave me the laptop back and everything was fine. Yeah, the biggest struggle is just trying to get things that I need. The friendliness of the people is a huge factor. People smiling at you, being willing to help you. In the US, you can't go up to somebody and start a conversation. Like, people will look at you like you're crazy.
Meet Vince, an American who relocated to Cambodia 2 years back. He shares his sad moments and experiences in Cambodia, the difficulties he has faced, what others should keep in mind, and why he chose to live in Cambodia.
Being here for 2 years, I keep on learning more and more. I think I know a lot now, but really, it's the more I learn, I see like I really know nothing about Cambodia. But I will say when I first arrived here, I felt like it was it's a little bit scary, but it seemed like a very safe place because there was no crime. People seemed very friendly. No one ever stole anything from me. But now the longer I've been here and I've experienced some more of the crimes or heard from friends some of the crimes, like, it's not too dangerous, but like, just keep your whereabouts, make sure you're careful of where you go at nights and who you spend time with and what information you give out, because there can be some really horrible things that can happen here. That's what I've been learning, and I've been trying to be more informed and more cautious the longer time I spend here. Yeah.
Do you feel like Cambodia is not safe?
I would say when I first came here, I thought like everything was fine. I lost my laptop on a tuk-tuk one time and I had to call the tuk-tuk driver and try and get it back, and he was a very honest guy and he gave me the laptop back and everything was fine. Yeah. So I thought like, wow, Cambodian people are really, really honest and really friendly. And yeah, I say the majority of people are, but we just had an experience, my fiance and I, a couple months ago. We had a few people sleeping over our house. We always lock the door at nights, but the window slides open. And during the night, someone, my fiance says, someone must have took like a fishing pole or something like that, some kind of special equipment to fish through the window, and they stole one of the people's phones in our house. And then when they left our apartment, well, they weren't inside, but when they fished through the window, they put up a little barrier to block the door. So if someone had caught them, when we tried to chase them, we would trip over something. So it was very organized the way that they stole that person's phone in my apartment. That's the only personal experience I've had with theft. The biggest thing that scares me, I feel very skeptical going to any doctor here or any veterinarian in Cambodia. Because I've had a few experiences, like getting some medical tests done in Cambodia. I was sure that I had some kind of problem, and I went to the doctor and they asked me if everything was okay. I said, oh, I feel all rightish, They asked me some questions and then they do the test, and the test results just looked made up to me. It didn't look real. So I went to Vietnam to get retested and they had completely different results from Cambodia. So I was like, okay, and now I don't know who to trust. So I went to Thailand to get the same test again, and Thailand had the same results as Vietnam, so it must have been Cambodia. It just gave me falsified results, just completely falsified. So it's hard to trust anyone. And you look at the expat groups of what people's experiences are in Cambodia. If someone calls an ambulance with the main number, if you're a foreigner and you don't speak Khmer, there's been experiences where people have called the ambulance 4 times. Every time the ambulance comes, they see it's a foreigner and they get in the ambulance and they leave. They just leave the foreigner there. They won't help you. You have to call a private hospital for an ambulance. If you call the public ambulance, they usually won't have expats unless you speak Khmer maybe. Yeah, I'd say.
Well,
Yes.
sorry to cut you, but this is not from your experience. It's from what you had.
Yeah, the ambulance thing is not mine, but the medical tests are mine. We went to the veterinarian recently. I was in Shanghai in China, visiting for a while, and our dog had a problem. She wasn't eating and wasn't drinking water for 2 or 3 days. So we thought she was gonna die. So we took her to the veterinarian, or she took her to the veterinarian based off a recommendation from a coworker to go to a Khmer veterinarian. And it tested our dog, and they said our dog had some kind of disease, parvo, which is a very deadly disease, like 90% chance of dying. They showed the test results, a very clear line that our dog had parvo. And they said that they want to keep our dog and they'll take care of her. And we thought, like, if there's a 90% chance of dying, like, we want to take care of her in our own home, spend time with her. We don't want her to die alone in a veterinarian hospital. So we decided to take her home, and the veterinarians were very, very upset. They're saying, hey, your dog's gonna die and that's gonna be on you. So we took her home and we ended up contacting another vet. She was trying to call me in Shanghai. It's a whole process because of the firewall, but we were able to contact each other a different way. And we found I told her how to treat her at home using, ChatGPT, medical advice from AI, what to do. And she took her to the vets and asked for specific things instead of getting the advice from the veterinarians. And our dog ended up healing very, very fast, faster than is possible with parvo. So when I came back from Shanghai, we took her to our normal vet, which is run by expats, run by foreigners. We feel it's maybe a little more trustworthy. And they ran the same test, and they found that the other vet was completely lying, just falsified the results for parvo. Our dog never had parvo. It was just a gimmick to try and make more money. They wanted to keep our dog in their hospital so he'd make $35 per day for our dog. And we were really scared of what would have happened if we gave our dog over, because maybe they would have purposely made our dog sick in some way. So we made the right decision doing the self-research and maybe not trusting the doctors and veterinarians in Cambodia.
Somehow I feel sad for Vince. I don't know, but yeah, personally, I have never experienced that myself, but my friends have been a victim of that, broken into the house, taking their belongings. And yeah, the hospital part, I've never experienced that also myself, but I know the hospital can be overcharging, making small problem to be a bigger problem because they want big money.
Yeah, sometimes when this kind of struggles comes, it's also somehow good because you learn from it and you will never let that happen again next time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you mentioned a lot of things that happened that you've learned in these 2 years of you here in Cambodia. Have you had this moment that you think maybe I should move to another country because of these things happening? Or you feel like, okay, this is a good lesson to start my living here in Cambodia. Since I've learned this, okay, I will avoid it and know what to do next.
I guess a mix of both. Before I started traveling more, I was very committed to always staying in Cambodia, and I still am very committed. Yeah, I still am very committed to staying in Cambodia. Although I do, at some point in time, want to go somewhere and then need to come back. But I'm pretty devoted to settling down with my fiance here in Cambodia long term. But whenever I travel, I get some short breaks from my work and I go travel somewhere. Most recently, I went to East Asia. I spent some time in Taiwan and South Korea, where it's extraordinarily safe. And I always thought of myself almost like a wild cowboy in Cambodia, able to, adjust to everything that's happening here. Something happens, you learn from it, and now you're a little bit more cautious. But at the same time, it was really freeing to feel how safe East Asia is. And I hate coming to a country and saying I wish it was like that, because every country is different. I've chosen Cambodia for a reason, and this is how Cambodia is. It's just something I have to accept. It's not something I can change. But if I were to raise a kid and settle down, I think I'd definitely want to go somewhere safer from the child's young years, and then come back to Cambodia, after a few years, when I'm sure the kid maybe is a little bit more mature and maybe there's no medical problems, on the horizon. So I think for myself, I'm very comfortable here in Cambodia, but if I were to take care of someone else, like a child, I would definitely need to consider a safer country.
What do you like the most? You mentioned, maybe I can say, is it because of your fiancé or because of your job that, okay, one of the reasons why you are still here? But in general, what do you like about living in Cambodia?
I think the biggest one, and maybe this is not something that most people even look for, but it really changes your opinion. The friendliness of the people is a huge factor. Your everyday life, walking around, people smiling at you, being willing to help you, and then having conversations. In the US, you can't go up to somebody and start a conversation. People will look at you like you're crazy. In Cambodia, it's totally fine, and it's you have the ability to choose if you want to be an introvert or extrovert here. If you're an extrovert, then this country is perfect for you, because it's totally socially acceptable to go around, make friends, and meet people in everyday life. Being from the US, where everyone's sort of independent, and I would maybe say even sometimes selfish, I think I always felt lonely maybe in the US, and I didn't even realize I felt lonely. But now coming to Cambodia and experiencing a country that's built on community, you really see how bright the world can be when everyone has the ability to talk to each other and you can always make friends anywhere. I really love how friendly it is here. Like, it's a huge factor that most people don't even consider in their minds.
Can I ask why you choose Cambodia?
There's a lot of factors, actually. I mean, first, I never really wanted to leave the US because my family especially kind of like gung-ho for the US, and they're like, always stay in the US, there's no reason to leave. Other countries might be dangerous. So it was never really on my radar to leave, but I've always in the back of my mind wanted to travel. My friend was teaching in South Korea, and he told me, hey, just try it for 1 year, go abroad, come to South Korea and teach here. Okay, yeah, I will. And then COVID happened, so that kind of stopped my plans. They gave me more time to research which country I want to go to. And I was trying to find a place where you can make enough money to save, but also maybe, enjoy life, but be somewhere kind of safe. So started to do some research. I made like a list of countries, and Cambodia really stood out because on several surveys, it had like rankings, like the highest rankings for like the friendliest people. Expats who come here, they stay for like 14, 20 years sometimes. So really long time compared to other countries when expats come for a year or 2 years to teach and then they leave. So I was like, there has to be something special about Cambodia, so I have to try it here first,
Can I ask the struggles here in Cambodia for you?
For me as an expat, probably the biggest struggle is just trying to get things that I need. For example, trying to find bleach. We have a dog, and trying to find bleach, like if she gets parasites or something like that, to try and clean up afterwards so she won't get the parasites again. And it's like impossible to find bleach for cleaning here in Cambodia. The only way I've been able to find it is by ordering from Thailand and importing from Thailand to Cambodia, which can be like a 2-week, 3-week process sometimes. And since Cambodia already imports so many items from other countries, everything's really expensive here. So for example, an air fryer, I went for the smallest air fryer I could find in Cambodia, and they were selling for $90 US. But I ordered from Lazada in Thailand, imported it myself, and it costs like $30 for the biggest size, at least double the size of the small one I found in Cambodia. I think items, like products that are imported to Cambodia, are expensive. There are a lot of affordable things here, like, everyday, daily life, but when you want to get something specific, a specific product, it can be really expensive here.
Do you have any other struggles? Okay, let me just say, you mentioned this is your first country out of the United States. Do you have like challenges adjusting to the system here or transiting to the system here?
Surprisingly, not really. I've spent some time in other countries, like a month in the Philippines and a few weeks in Indonesia and here and there. And Cambodia was the easiest to adjust to. Maybe because I had no frame of reference, like I was coming in with an open mind of, anything's okay. And meeting my fiance so early on, she was able to help me adjust. It definitely helps having a support system when you come to a country. If you just come alone, I think that maybe what causes a lot of the, culture shock. But if you have people that you can get along with, ask advice from, and do things with, I feel like everything becomes so much easier in a country. So no, there was really no culture shock period for me. It's a learning process. It's actually harder now to adjust, like knowing what I need to know, trying to learn the language and do certain things. Knowing that I have to make those improvements, it's harder to adjust. But when I first came here, I came here with an open mind, and it felt easy. It felt easy.
Do you think coming from the United States, do you think you have more opportunities here in terms of job and other opportunities here?
I would say, like, if you look at the statistics, maybe, and you look at the job stats, there's probably more opportunity in the US. But in terms of perception, like what I feel is accessible, that maybe the place where it's easier for me to find a job and I feel like more relaxed looking for a job, but there's no stress in finding one, I definitely feel more comfortable in Cambodia. I feel like if I lost my job today, I could find a new job tomorrow. Whereas in the US, if I lost my job today, maybe it would take me 2, 3, 4, 5 months to find a suitable new job. Maybe it isn't that there's more job opportunities here, but it's just a low stress country. Like, you just kind of go with the flow and people adapt. And especially as an expat, I think there's always a market for expats that speak English here in companies in Cambodia. So there's always opportunity here for expats. For the local people who live here, maybe it's not the same story. But speaking from my experience, I'd say there's more opportunity for me here in Cambodia.
How is your Khmer now?
My Khmer is not so good. I know some basic surface level.
Well, can you introduce yourself now in Khmer?
I'll try my best. Chemu Roba Kanyom Vince Kanyom Runo Ena Santomok Phnom Penh Cambodia and Kanyom Job Jets Mahop Khmer.
Oh, that's cool. Which of the Khmer food is your favorite?
Nomanjok for sure. Nomanjok. It's the I call it the Khmer noodles. I like the green one. I like to eat food that doesn't have like the bones inside. So it's one of the few dishes you can get for Khmer food that doesn't have any bones. It's just like fish paste or something. I also love snails. I never had snails before. I like so most people here eat the small snails, but we found a place that has the big ones. Those taste amazing, and whatever sauce they use is just absolutely magical. When I first came, lok lok was a big dish because it's something, beef, right, that I'm used to. But now I get maybe just a little bit bored of it. Oh yeah. Just like, for example, like Baisak Duruk, the morning, what's it, Baisak Duruk, pork and pork and rice, and then beef lok lak, beef and whatever you have on the side. Just a little bit too simple, maybe. It's good for the average day, but I usually try to find something a little bit more exciting. I like Nam Chok because it's new, right? It's something that I can't really find in the U.S. at all. But beef lok lak doesn't exist in the U.S., but it's easy enough to make.
Yeah. You mentioned Numanchok. Do you eat it every day? Do you eat Khmer food every day?
No, probably not. I'd say maybe every other day. Because in my area, it's in Tomok. In my old area, I used to have Khmer food every day because it was really easy to find Khmer food. But my new area, I live by my workplace, there's not much food. And so around 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, everything closes down. There's no food to find. And sometimes I finish work at 8 p.m. So my only option is to order something. And I usually go for my Western food. But yeah, there's one place where I can get nomanchok, but it's only open at specific times. So maybe go once every 2 days, once every 3 days. Yeah.
How often do you travel around Cambodia?
Ooh, like for big trips, maybe once or twice a year. My fiance and I went to Koh Kong last year on like a charity trip. I just recently came back from Koh Rong, the island. Been meaning forever to go out there. I've been to Battambang, Kampot, Siem Reap, of course, Her Province, Kandao Province, Phnom Penh. I'm sorry?
The Kandahar province is very close here.
Yeah, very close. So I hung out there. We might go down to the mountain over there today and go see her parents. Yeah, so we've been around a little bit. There's not many spots left on my to-do list to check out. But yeah, maybe once or twice a year, make a big trip.
Do you have favorites?
Surprisingly, most people don't really talk about it, but I really like Battambang. Battambang's quite a quiet place, but I really love the bat cave. I've never seen the bats leave their cave before. It's a very long thing, but it's so surreal looking at the bats leave. And we drove around with my fiance's cousin, and the street art in Battambang is really interesting. And generally, I just really like being around places where it's more of a local population rather than seeing foreigners everywhere. And so I can have like a more genuine experience for a country. Because sometimes walking around, we see all the foreigners, but you also see like all the tourist shops. And like, for example, Bangkok in Thailand is like one big tourist spot. It's not genuine, it doesn't feel genuine. So Battambang really feels genuinely Khmer.
Do you find it difficult to communicate with the locals here?
Yes. I always get compliments that I have clear Khmer, but I think they're just trying to be polite. It's just something that you say to be polite, to compliment someone when you first meet them. I have a really difficult time pronouncing some words. Like, for example, the word Khmer for the number 3 and the word for rice. I can hear the difference sometimes, but I can't pronounce the difference. To me, I just say bye. All right, bye for rice, bye for number 3. But there's supposed to be a difference between the two of them. I can't pronounce that difference. And what's odd is I think a lot of Khmer don't pronounce the last consonant for the words, so I can't hear to pronounce it. But then I also don't pronounce it, and then I'll talk to my fiance, and she says, no, you're pronouncing it wrong. So I'll make the same sound, but I'll move my lips like I'm making that last consonant sound, and she's, oh yeah, that's correct. So I'm making the same sound, but for some reason, just the mouth movements have a difference in how people perceive your words.
How do you feel when you make mistake, when you pronounce it and you're not happy with the way you pronounce it? Do you feel frustrated?
I wouldn't say I feel frustrated, but it can be embarrassing. I'll tell a story about one time it was embarrassing. But I would say the biggest thing in the culture here in Cambodia is who you're speaking to. Talking with someone my age or someone younger, or maybe someone in the shop, a shopkeeper, maybe there's no frustration, you just go with the flow and you learn and you try again. But if I'm speaking to someone older, like maybe let's say my fiance's parents or her grandparents or someone, and you have to make like maybe a good impression or the communication really matters, I do get a little bit frustrated. Yeah, it's a little bit annoying, like making the mistakes. You're trying to do it as clear as you can and you still can't get it right. And yeah, but one time the miscommunication was really embarrassing. I was taking Khmer lessons one time online, and that's actually when I learned the most words. That's actually where most of my foundational Khmer comes from. It's from those classes, but I can't take those classes anymore. And they taught me an IPA, which is the International Phonetic Alphabet. They try and teach you in a way that's kind of universal for all languages, but some of the letters and the sounds are maybe disconnected when you look from the English perspective. So for example, the letter J in IPA is not pronounced J, it's pronounced like a Y sound, like Y. So they show me the Y sounds with the letter J, and they taught me the word for slow down was yut. So it's pronounced with the Y at the beginning, yut, but they spelled with a J. So I was in a tuk-tuk and I was going somewhere trying to meet my fiance, and I'm telling the tuk-tuk driver, trying to practice my Khmer, trying to be cool. I say, Som Sadam Bong, go to the right, please. I'm trying to say yut, but I say, because the way it's spelled, I say jut. And jut in Khmer means kiss. So I asked the tuk-tuk driver if we could kiss. He just stared at me like I was weird, and I was so confused about what was happening. I said, jut, I said niet sray, which means like, here's a girl. I was talking about my fiance. I was like, slow down because I'm going towards the girl, so that's my fiance. This is jut, niet sray. So first I say jut, maybe he thought I wanted to kiss him, and I said niet sray, so maybe he thought I wanted to kiss the girl. He just looked at me like I was crazy, yeah.
That's interesting. But apart from that, do you think the language barrier here affects your living in Cambodia?
If I was on my own, for sure. Like there's certain things I wouldn't be able to do in Cambodia if I didn't have someone who speaks Khmer. And maybe you need a certain level of Khmer that's just not possible to attain in the first year for those conversations. Like for example, ordering something from Taobao from China. The first time importing anything here in Cambodia, it's a very weird process where they sent it to a certain logistic company here. They didn't tell me which logistic company they sent it to, so they call you, but they don't contact you on Telegram. There's no email, there's no hard record. So I have to call back like 10 times, and every time I call back, it's someone who speaks Khmer, no English. And so I have to find someone who speaks Khmer to tell them, hey, I received a call, I have a shipment, I don't know what the shipment number is, I don't have any information. So it took like 1 month of going back and forth because I couldn't speak Khmer the first time just to get that package to my door. Yeah, very difficult for some of the small things that you can't really plan for beforehand. So if you don't speak Khmer, you have to have a friend who speaks Khmer for some things here.
What do you think is the stereotype the Cambodians has towards foreigners like here?
I think a lot of people assume that foreigners, it depends on the foreigner. I think they view Asian foreigners differently from, European, Australian, and American, Canadian. But let's say like the white foreigners, I think a lot of them view white foreigners as the kindest, nicest people on earth. And that's just not true. I think it's just maybe there's a lot of people here come to Cambodia from Asia, and they get a negative opinion from the people from Asia because, for example, a lot of people from China come here for the crime operations, gambling businesses and whatnot. So they see the worst of that side of the world. But when people come from Europe, Canada, America, they're coming here to work as teachers, or they're coming here to explore as tourists. And maybe the people who come here as teachers might be nicer, might be more formal, professional, possibly, maybe. I wouldn't say that's for everybody, for sure. And then maybe the people who are tourists, laid back, relaxed, looking to meet people, make friends. So I think the purpose of the trip makes a big difference in how people perceive, how Cambodians perceive different people. And because maybe the Chinese have a different reason for coming to Cambodia versus the Americans coming to Cambodia, that's why there's a big difference in the stereotypes of how they perceive those people.
Do they think you are rich? Do you think they think you are rich?
That's a good question. I think they think I have money, but I wouldn't think they call it rich. Because, like, for example, I don't have that much money. The dowry, to get married here in Cambodia is $10,000. Anybody who wants to get married here in Cambodia probably needs $10,000 to get married to a Khmer woman. And that's a lot of money. So I know maybe people who are 50, 40, 50, 60 years old, they might see, okay, those people probably have money, like they're retirees. They probably see them as having money. But someone my age, they probably think, oh, that person made a lot of money in their country. But I think they don't really see me as rich, probably. I think they just probably see me as a little bit higher than normal. Going for even 1 day, 2 days in Vietnam, make some friends with foreigners, and then, I do some shopping myself, and you talk to the tour guide and they say, oh yeah, you've been overcharged like every single time in Vietnam. So I think I heard Cambodia used to overcharge foreigners a lot, like routinely, but probably has changed now. And I can't really get a good sense for what really happens, since I usually go with my fiance and I speak a little bit of Khmer as well. So I don't think I get overcharged. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just ignorant to the fact I'm being overcharged, but because everything's so cheap.
Your 2 years here in Cambodia, is there anything that you've discovered in Cambodia that you think most foreigners did not know about or get wrong?
Yeah, for sure. I think the superstitions in Cambodian culture, like some of the finer points. For instance, I just learned recently that apparently it's rude to call a baby cute in Cambodia. I've asked my students as well, and my students all agree. You can't call a baby cute in Cambodia because they have the Buddhist belief in reincarnation. So they think that when you call a baby cute, the baby's mother from the past life, or the ghost's mother, will want the baby back, and they'll try and take the baby or kill the baby or something like that. So if you call a baby cute, you're cursing the baby to get taken by the ghost mother to the afterlife, I guess. So instead, you have to use a certain tone of voice to show that you mean cute, but you actually call the baby ugly. So you'll go up to a baby and say akra akra akra. It means ugly, but you use it with a tone of voice and a smile to show that the baby's cute. Just something random and so tiny in Cambodian culture.
So in that way, the ghost mom will not come and give it. Okay, that is interesting.
There's so many smaller things as well. Like even I'd say there's like a lot of medical superstitions as well. For example, people here, if you ask most people, they'll say if you eat mangosteen with sugar, that will kill you. They think that if you have mangosteen and sugar, it's gonna kill you. I've tested it for myself. My fiance got very pissed off that I wanted to try it, but of course I didn't die. From my research though, the reason why the superstition exists is because a lot of people in Cambodia actually have diabetes from eating so much white rice. And if you have mangosteen with sugar and you have diabetes, then there's a high chance of going into some kind of sugar shock or something like that and dying. So that's true for 30% of the population. If they have mangosteen and sugar, they might die.
Any advice for the foreigners living in Cambodia in order to be safe?
I guess you just gotta, be cautious as best you can, but it's mostly about living and learning, There's a lot of scam jobs that get posted around, and they're trying to attract people from Asian countries, especially maybe, let's say, Indonesia, maybe Taiwan, a lot of people from the Philippines, attracting them here to force them to work in scam centers and scam people worldwide, and they cannot leave. They have no ability to leave on their own. It's just something good to be aware of, because it's like you don't want to, if you come from an Asian country, you don't want to lose your freedom, right? The risk, the cost is really high. Probably won't happen if you just come as a tourist, but still you have to be aware of that fact. And even though there's not a lot of crime here, it's still smart to be aware of that crime that exists. As much as I try to be cautious, I wouldn't even thought that someone can get a fishing rod through the window slides plus the cage behind the window in the apartment to fish out a phone. So now we put up curtains to try and block the view, make it an extra barrier. We got a lock for the window now because you think a cage is enough, but the cage is not enough. So part of it's living and learning, and part of it's trying to prepare beforehand. But I think for most of those small crimes, it's not really, a big deal. I think if a foreigner loses their phone, they can get a new one. It's not, gonna change your life for the most parts. Uh, a message for Cambodians, I'd say, I don't want Cambodia to change. I think, maybe we want to see the country progress in some ways, especially economically, because a lot of people are suffering. But in terms of people's personality here and the culture here, I want people to stay just as friendly as they are now. I hope as the country develops, and it's surely going to develop the next 10 years, I hope people keep that same friendliness and they don't get, turned sideways as other countries have as they develop. I really hope they keep their roots here in Cambodia.